So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 64554633728. I'm trying a different intro because I realize that a lot of people just leave before I can even say my name, probably. So, yeah, I'm Earthling. Yada, yada, yada. And what's special about me? Well, I can't think of stuff that I've never done. I've never skydived, but that would be really cool. I've never been to Africa. I think I want to go there, safari or something like that. That would be really cool. But I did have my own newspaper, and I did everything, and I learned a lot, and that was really amazing. And I have a computer science degree and a master's in business administration. I lost a whole bunch of money that I borrowed to bet on the stock market. Lost it. I have not had a 9-to-5 job in the last 14 years, but I've still been to the Grand Canyon. I've been to Seoul, South Korea. I've been to the Louvre to see the Mona Lisa and a bunch of other places. Yeah, so that's me. So what I wanted to talk today was about how kids who grow up in the same family with the same parents, people say that, and they're like, how can these kids be so different? And my response is, how can they not be so different? The thing about it is that if you look at these teams, just think of any ensemble cast on any movie or any TV show or whatever it is. They have their stereotypical roles. You might have, let's say Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You have one of them who's sleepy. You have one of them who's grumpy. Like the Smurfs. You have Brainy Smurf. You have Hefty Smurf. You have all of these different Smurfs. And all of them were raised by Papa Smurf, but they're all so different. And they're going to be different. Because I have my uncle, he was telling me that he has a kid who is very fastidious. I hope I have saying that right. He's a kid that's really conscientious. He'll put out the recycling. He'll make sure the table's set, make sure that everybody is eaten. He'll make sure that, I guess, people get paid and whatever. And he's like, yeah, my other kids, they're not like him. He's just like that. And in my experience, in many instances, I have been the one, wherever I am, to be like, hey, there's a kid or there's a person who might not be enjoying themselves at this activity as much as they should. Let me go over to them and say hi. Or let me make sure that this thing gets done or that thing gets done or whatever. But I have found myself in some organizations, my fraternity, for example, where there was another guy who was even more fastidious, I guess I'm going to use that, than I am. And this guy, by his very presence, it meant I did not have to fill that role. I could be goofy and make jokes because the things that I would have been worrying about, the things that I would have been concerned about, the time that I would have spent thinking, okay, is this correct? Is that right? I would not have to do that because this guy, not only was he like me in terms of making sure that everything was done properly or in a good way, he was even more firm that the way that he was doing it was better. And it wasn't like he was messing up per se. I might not have liked his style of doing things, but he still was the guy that he's getting things done reasonably well. And reasonably well in many instances is just almost perfect. In a lot of instances, it's just perfect. So it just would free me up to be a little less stern. And I think that's the same thing that would happen with my nephews. No, not my nephews, my cousins. I keep forgetting. My uncle actually has kids that would be the age. I don't know, I just keep forgetting. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. And I think that happens a lot. That might even happen in marriages where you see that one person feels as if, oh, the husband or the wife, she's not the disciplinarian. She just comes in and expects that everything is fun. And, this person might come into the room after you've put the kids to sleep and wake the kids up and just mess everything up that you have. You've seen those movies where people are getting divorced because one person is just like that. Or just, in the case with my own father, he would come every once in a while and, try to be the exciting one. And yeah, you have to be the exciting one if people don't see you that often. If you're boring and you're only appearing every once in a while, who needs you? You have to be as exciting as possible in order to get any attention at all. So yeah, it's not that it's an unexpected thing. We think that it's unexpected because we're not really thinking through the steps. And beyond just the specific example in which I gave, whereby if somebody is responsible and they meet somebody else who is just as responsible or around as responsible as they are, they feel relieved to give up that role for some other role, which is what I was saying. There is also the situation where, let's say, another kid wanted to be responsible. They're not going to get as much praise for being responsible, or they're not going to feel as satisfied if they're second in the ladder of being responsible. You may as well abandon that and pick a different sport or some other extracurricular activity where you can be number one and get that unique and special praise and know that, hey, nobody else is filling this particular role of being, let's say, the comedian or the one who knows everything about cars, or a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. You can be the best at that and probably get more recognition. Or even if you're just going to be the black sheep, you can get more attention and maybe not praise, but attention, being this black sheep than you could by being a good kid. You would just disappear. Your parents might not even ask for you, or, where is this one? Who knows? They're off being a good kid, and this is my first kid that I'm all excited about. I remember I heard about a guy who had two kids quite a while ago, and I think he must have been the American ambassador to France, let's say. So he has the first kid, and he goes over with the first kid to France, and he's amazed by how quickly the kid is picking up French and learning it and being able to speak so fluently in such a short amount of time. I said the same thing several different ways. That's how we do things, right? I just repeated myself a couple of different ways to make it seem more interesting and fill up time. And this is the intermediary attention getter. Yeah, I don't know if I should do that. Maybe I should. It's a thing. I just want to try different things and let's see. Anyway, so he has this kid who he thinks is amazing. Now, he has another kid who also comes over to France. But by this time, he can speak French somewhat fluently, and the amazing son can speak French somewhat fluently. So both of them being on the other side of that language divide, neither of them are really amazed by the progress of the second son. And, the second son does not amount to much. I guess he does not think of as highly of him as his second son, as his first son. And all in all, it's just, I guess, a disappointing turnout. It ends up with the second son. And of course it's going to be. Somebody who can already speak French is not going to look at the bumblings of someone who can't and think, oh, that's notable. No, you're just another person who is making all of these mistakes. So it's not as amazing. Or looking at your second child after you've had your first one, you don't know anything about it, just the feelings, just the rush of this interaction that you've never had, seeing your child grow up. That by, the last kid can stay out all night. They can drink and do all sorts of things that you would never have allowed the first kid to do. And I know as a first kid that when I look back at the way that my mother would have treated my sister, it was nothing. I mean, yes, it's a boy and a girl difference, but it was nothing like how my mother would have treated me, or, spankings or scoldings or whatever else that I would have gotten that my sister would not have gotten. Yeah, she's a girl, but still, it was a night and day difference, I felt, in many different ways. Especially where, at one point my mom is like, okay, you're older, you get more money. And then at some point where to me it didn't make any sense, suddenly we're both getting the same amount of money. And I'm like, how does this even make sense? This doesn't really make sense to me. And then, I remember if my mom gave us money and then the next day she's like giving us more, I might say, well, I already have from, the day before and then spend everything. And my sister never, ever said that. She would just take the money. And I'm like, okay. So we have that assertion in our minds that, but it's the same parents. No, it's not the same parents. Your parents are going to react to Jimmy's dimples and blue eyes differently from how they're going to react to Sean's black eyes and black hair and being a little bit chubbier. It's a completely different way that they're going to react. And you might be older, you might be younger, you might be a boy, you might be a girl, you might be whatever. Your parents are going to be more comfortable hanging out with one of the kids and a little bit less comfortable hanging out with another one of the kids. Or, yeah, that's just how it is. So it's not the same house. It is not the same house for the two kids. That would require your parents to actually really, not just say it, love both of you the same amount. And you can't tell me that you're going to look at both of your kids' faces that are different and love both of them the same amount. I mean, yeah, you're supposed to, and yeah, maybe you do love them the same amount, but you're not as comfortable spending time with them. You're not as comfortable talking to them, having conversations about what they're actually interested in. So it is not the same house from the perspective of one kid that's taller and the other kid that's shorter, or one kid that's a boy and the other one's a girl. And even if you're both boys, one of them is going to be a little bit more fearful because of that time that he fell down and mom and dad didn't rush to help him. Because, they've seen the older kid fall down, and before they would have been scared, but now they know you can fall down a good number of times and still be okay. And you're like, they don't love me. But it's not like that. They just know that you're going to be okay, so they're not going to rush in and give as much concern as they would have with the other kid. The world is completely different. It has to be different because it's a different person that you're dealing with. So yeah, that's me. And feel free to like, hate, dislike, love, subscribe, share, all of that or none of that, the same way that you would want people to do if this were your recording. Have a good one. Peace.